Morning. I'm going to tell you a story of an accidental designer. I had absolutely no intention of starting a luxury business when I moved to the UK in 2005. Really, my only interest at the time was garbage. I've always been obsessed with garbage. I'm really interested in what a society throws away. I think that's where we can really see our successes and our failures. So when I first moved to England, I decided, not very interested in Buckingham Palace or the Tower of London, so I went to the sewers, which are amazing, kind of like this building, very, very beautiful. I also went to the British Library, where I was studying what is British waste. And the thing that I discovered, I think, that annoyed me the most was that in that year, 100 million tons of waste went to landfill in the UK. And I didn't know what 100 million tons looked like. So I started going to all the landfills in the UK. This was kind of very easy to do. You're a Canadian with a backpack and a ponytail. Everyone will let you in if you're very friendly. And I expected to find household waste. So bin bags and tennis rackets and nappies. And what I discovered was construction waste. Truck after truck after truck of waste cement or waste foam. And I found this really depressing because a lot of the material that was arriving had very obvious value. It couldn't be maybe traditionally recycled, but it had value. And I wanted to find something that I could fix because 100 million tons is this enormous amount of material, and I wanted to start a business with no money. So I thought I have to pick a small problem. And that's when I discovered the fire hoses. And they looked a lot like this when I first found them. They're obviously insanely beautiful, right? They're these beautiful red coils of material. They're life-saving material. They're not fireproof, I discovered, but they are very heat resistant and they are very water resistant. So they have some really excellent properties. And I think this is where we're very different from a traditional luxury business. We're not these designers that start with an idea. We don't dream of something spectacular and then go out and acquire the materials in order to make it. We start with the problem. So on the first day, I went to this one place in London where all of the southeast of the UK, all of the hoses go to die. It's called Croydon. All of the hoses go to this place and they assess them. Can they repair it? If they repair it, great. If they can't, then they decommission it, which means landfill. So I brought one of these home. It's 18 kilos, so quite heavy. And I put it on the floor, and then we started researching it. What is fire hose? Where is it made? Why is it wasted? How much is there? And probably some interesting things that I discovered is why we became a luxury business. The first thing we discovered is that Louis Vuitton, in their monogram collection, they use nitrile rubber. It's not leather. And this fire hose is a more expensive version of that material. So I thought this is a fantastic place to start. And the second reason why we went into luxury was because essentially at that time, 2005, the World Wildlife Fund had done an analysis of the luxury industry, and they discovered that nobody was performing environmentally or ethically to any standard anywhere near a C+. And we thought we could do much better than that. And eventually we were able to make products like this. It did take 5 years to make this. It wasn't easy. Fire hose is not a textile. That's a whole other story, how to transform fire hose into a textile. But we were eventually able to do this. So if you think of Elvis and Kresse having a DNA, we have three aspects. We rescue materials, we transform them into beautiful products, and the third thing that we do is we give 50% of the profits to charity, which some people think is quite high. I think it's only fair. The firemen do all these amazing things to save our lives. Then they give me this beautiful material. To me, it makes a lot of sense to share that money back to your stakeholders. And that's why we do that. And the company, I think, my first real goal was let's solve the fire hose waste problem. There's between 3 and 10 tons a year in the UK every year. 3 tons if we're having a good year. When it's just hoses reaching the end of their health and safety life, 10 tons if we have a bad year with lots of fires. Last year was a bad year. We had 12 tons. So unexpected amount. But by 2010, we had solved the problem. So Elvis and Kresse started in 2005. By 2010, as long as we keep going, we are solving this waste problem. And part of the reason why we got to that level of success was because we found ourselves in this image. I think you can all see the belt is the highlight of this image, right? But we found ourselves in this image, and it was in the first ever green issue of US Vogue. And it was, especially in 2010, very influential magazine. And overnight, we went from being this quirky social enterprise to being the future of luxury, to winning all kinds of awards and selling in Harrods and designing for Apple. And it really, really changed one image. It's quite incredible, changed the trajectory of the business. And then that set us off on a lot of other challenges. You know, we don't use new material for anything. Our packaging is rescued. We make it ourselves. Our linings, everything is rescued. The building that we work in is rescued as well. But a problem that we discovered in 2010, we decided we couldn't ignore, and it's the world's leather waste problem. Basically, you have a cowhide shaped like this. People cut out the shapes that they want, and then the leftover scraps just fall to the cutting room floor. They fall to the cutting room floor to the tune of 800,000 tons a year, globally, 35,000 tons in Western Europe. This is all an underestimation. It's an old UN study. But instead of doing a typical design brief, which is I think of something, I make it, and then I don't care about its death, this is the design brief that I wrote to Elvis. I said, look, you know, everybody's talking about the circular economy. We have to deliver it. We have to make it happen. So we have to design for deconstruction. I didn't want to design products. I wanted to design a component-based system, a lot like Lego, so that what we came up with for leather really could be forever, because once leather is tanned, it's not going anywhere. And we came up with this, which is, if you're not into rugs, it's not very interesting. But it's 3 shapes that you can interlock to make basically whole new hides of any size. And I think the coolest thing about this is if you don't like the rug anymore, that's okay. You can take it apart. And you can make cubes, which again, maybe not so interesting. But it proves that we can take something that was 2-dimensional and make it 3-dimensional. And if you don't like your cubes, you can take those apart and you can upholster a chair. So this leather already has 3 lives. And if your chair, maybe you think, actually, you think this is a high traffic area right here, you can move some of those pieces to a low traffic area so you can repair and replace over time. And if you don't want your chair anymore, then you can switch to having a bag. So we then go back to our luxury roots, I suppose. And with I think this is our factory. This building, we rescued this building in Kent. No heat. When we bought it, it had no heat, no power. All the windows were rotten. It was totally disgusting inside. And we repaired it only using waste materials. Because in construction, there's also a lot of waste. But what we were really inspired by with this building is that it was built in 1837. It was a mill, and it only used renewable energy. And if we really want to deliver the circular economy, we have to stop using fossil fuels. So Elvis and Kresse is powered by renewable energy, and 50% of the profits from our leather project go to renewable energy projects. So we are using half of the profit from our leather to reinvest in renewable energy projects. And then I think it's important to talk about us as a business. We're not just interested in solving a waste problem. We want to design a better kind of business. So we have a lot of values and principles within the business. We're a social enterprise. We're a founding UK B Corp. B Corps are really important. We're very proud to be a part of that community. And one of the main reasons that we're proud to be a part of that community is that you have to change the constitution of your business. You have to say that shareholders are not king. The market is not king. The people and the planet are equally important. It's a fundamental change and shift in business. We make all of our business decisions whether or not we think they're going to make the world better for other people's grandchildren. This is not a new concept. It's a 7th generation kind of concept, but it really focuses the mind. You could never, ever make landmines if you wanted to only make the world better for other people's grandchildren. It kind of ensures that you're being more sane in your business practice, I think. We're always trying to achieve multiple positive objectives. You know, time's up. The world is really in a bad state, and if we want to make dramatic improvements, you can't just do one thing well. You have to do everything to a spectacularly high fashion. I suppose the other really interesting thing about us is that, you know, we do partner with industry, and one of the biggest partnerships we have is with Burberry. We are solving their leather waste problem. It's an arrangement we started making last year. And then if you ever hear me get excited about money, it's really only this one equation, okay? If you bury 1,000 tons of leather in the ground, so if you send it to landfill, the cost is £410. But if you turn that leather into our system and you sell it, it's worth £100,000. The same 1,000 kilograms. That's insanity. We're burying value that has huge potential for society. And I think I'll just leave you with one photo. Most people think that we have Elvis just as for SEO because it's very good for Google and searchability, but he is a real person. So this is the head designer in our business. And I love this picture mostly because the belt that he is wearing is the first item we ever made out of fire hose, and he still wears it every day. You know, we build items to last, we believe in them, and I think one of the most interesting parts of our business is that it is about heart, it is about love, and I think that's perfectly acceptable if you're trying to change the way the business world is. Thank you.